What's up, everybody? It's Polish Pete, and I'm here in our studio in Golden Valley, Minnesota. And this is This Week at Omnia, where we go over the best bites, the best baits, and all the fishing report activity going around the country. Look at what we have here. A couple of fishing reports, one from Missouri, one from Tennessee. We've got Lake of the Ozarks and Old Hickory. And you see a dramatic water temp difference. You got 44-degree water in Lake of the Ozarks and upper 50s even in Tennessee there in Old Hickory. Both, though, the jerkbait was a player. That is the prime temperature for jerkbait to play. And we see that Evan here on Lake of the Ozarks was able to key on that super cold water using the 6 cents provoked jerkbait. 6 cents has been a killer manufacturer since they hit the market. They clearly have a ton of fishermen working there. Jerkbaits are, as we talked about every year when it comes to springtime fishing, a mainstay in your arsenal. He also used a 6 cents Curve 55 and a Megabass S-Crank square bill. So as you see, hard baits are playing down there. The Ozarks is a region of the country where hard baits is a must. If you're not good at hard bait fishing in that part of the country, you're missing out. With Evan's report here from Lake of the Ozarks, very windy and cold, and it rained. It probably made for him some tough fishing conditions with that cold water, and making that jerkbait pause and working it super slow is making fish that are not actively running around and feeding commit to biting the bait. So that's why the jerkbait is such a key player when that water's that cold. Then moving over to Old Hickory there in Tennessee, we see that the Rapala Shadow Rap was a player. The cool thing I found in this fishing report is Trenton here upgraded the hooks to the new VMC Redline hooks. Redline is a hook series that made us here at Omnia Fishing, us fishing geeks, get excited because most of us are into those coated style hooks. I think that coating on the hooks makes a hook twice as effective, in my opinion. The hook points stay harder. They hook fish better. Let's face it, the hook points are sharper, and that slippery coating on those hooks allows it to penetrate deeper. It's all my favorite hook brands, whether it's Ichikawa, Owner, Gamakatsu, and I've loved VMC's direction throughout the years, and the Nico hook's been a player in my boat, even non-coated. Now having it in a coated version is awesome, and obviously VMC trebles are a mainstay in the industry, and to see them in that Redline series is super exciting. So cool there. But if you look here with Trenton's report, he looked for softer bottom areas with sand and mud, 6 to 10 foot of water. With a 5 to 10 mile an hour winds out of the northwest and bluebird skies, the outside temp, I apologize, is in the upper 50s there, and then his water temp was was 55 degrees. Though that sounds like prime time condition to catch fish, but when you get those bluebird skies like that, it can make it a little difficult. I bet you it helped a little bit that he had a little bit of wind there with 5 to 10 mile an hour. More wind probably would have helped a bunch, but he was able to adjust, go to that jerkbait, get that shadow wrap out, and get him to bite in those what can be pretty tough conditions with those bluebird skies. So good job, Trenton and Evan. Thank you for the fishing reports. We got one more coming up now. Lastly, we got a report from Nick. Nick was fishing the Laurel River Lake in Kentucky. Pre-spawn conditions. Looks like we have 58-degree water temp, so this is the warmest of the reports we've been seeing as far as the middle of the country there. But that's still jerkbait time, and the Vision 110+1 came out to play. No big surprise, jerkbaits, pre-spawn. It's a good bait. I think we've watched it win a lot of tournaments, and we see it a ton in fishing reports. Back to that Seaguar and VizX fluorocarbon. That's a key type of line for this technique. It does sink. It doesn't pull the bait back up in the water column as bad as other types of line would. But you see, he was fishing 15 to 20 foot of water, secondary points going back into spawning pockets. Key transition area for fish as they're moving up to find that warmer spawning ground. They're stopping on those stop signs, those natural stop signs like a point. Stopping there 15 to 20 feet is pretty deep for pre-spawn fish. When you're talking to a guy that lives up in the North Country, that could be the deepest part of some of our lakes. So 15 to 20 sounds super deep for pre-spawn, but in a reservoir, you've got to be able to move around and adjust to fish in all levels of the water column. And using that 110+1, I've been able to personally get a 110+1 with light line like this 10-pound he's talking about. I've even fished it as light as 8-pound test and got it down deeper than 10 foot of water. If you're new to fishing, what you've learned today was you want to go out and buy yourself a bunch of jerk baits that cover a bunch of different areas of the water column, whether it be shallow or deep water, and look for those fish that are either getting ready to spawn or staging to go into a spawning area. So jerk baits, once again, shine as the pre-spawn killer. No major surprises this week as far as top products go. The things that are selling are pretty common for pre-spawn and around that spawn time of the year around the whole country. The Bassman Compact Willow Spinnerbait still continues to be a huge surprise to us. We burn through these things, especially this time of year where the spinnerbait can shine. And this mag willow kind of style blade is becoming more and more popular with all sorts of anglers around the country because it's a mix between a willow and a Colorado blade. It still lets you keep this bait a little bit deeper if you want to, but you can get that big thump of a Colorado blade as well. The Hog Farmer, the Spunk Shad here, this thing is killing it for us, and it has for a long time. I think a lot of people are using it as a chatterbait trailer and then also on like a scrounger head style bait. This is a cool bait that gets bit in those cold water conditions all the way into deep water transitions in the summer as well. New this week, though, to us was the Muscleback Finesse Craw from X-Zone. We've always sold this bait really well, but I think due to the fact we did an X-Zone sale last week and the popularity of X-Zones continues to grow, they're partnering up with their anglers, their pro staff, to create some of the best soft plastics on the market right now. I think X-Zone is going to be a brand you see take that next step into being one of the top tier selling plastics manufacturers. They're already arrived there for us. I think other dealers around the country are starting to see the same thing, that X-Zone's taken off and taken some market share there. Mag Draft in a 6-inch, the pre-rigged version of the Mag Draft. This thing's flying. It always has. In fact, most times I think that we're slower in sales on them is just because of inventory, like we don't have enough. We've always got these on order, and we burn through them when we get them. But this time of year especially, the Mag Draft is a mega player. Those pre-spawn fish and even fish around a bed will crush this thing. So depends on where you are in the country. But this time of year, this thing is absolutely a flyer for us. Where we are, where we're still iced up, we're waiting for that ice to come off, but as soon as it does, there will be people throwing these things around, I promise you. The Megabass Sleeper Craw, no big surprise there either. This is a new entry for them. These things have flown. There's a back order on them now, so we're waiting for more to come in, but we still have a few variants left in this to get a hold of. It's fished like a jig. It should be interesting to see how much of a player this is going forward with Megabass. And jerk baits. We have a whole bunch of jerk baits that are playing now, and that goes with the time of year. The 110 is always our best seller as far as jerk baits go, but we've seen the Stunna jump up in there and take a lot of market share there. Striking's got their new player in the KVD Elite. The 300 jerkbait from Striking is a real deal jerkbait. I've fished it myself. It is a confidence jerkbait for me in smallmouth waters. I'm sure they play huge down south in largemouth waters as well. And Old Faithful here, the old Rogue here, this thing flies, and all the Rapala variants as well. But it's a little tougher to cast some of these old school jerkbaits, but compared to the new ones with big tungsten transfer weights in them and stuff, but man, they suspend, they work great in cold water. There's no beating some of the old school stuff when it gets really nasty out in the spring and you want to try and get that jerkbait fired up. What's pretty cool to see as we monitor sales and fishing reports all around the country is how much a lot of the similar baits and techniques play all over the entire country during the same phases of the spawn, right? So we saw obviously Florida fire off first with pre-spawn and spawning techniques with the tournament trails and our fishing reports that were getting filed and coming in. And now that middle part of the country, that is predominantly in the pre-spawn still. We see those baits selling and fishing reports coming through on those. And where we are up here in the North Country, where we're still iced up, believe it or not, hoping that this week changes a lot of that. But those same baits shine year after year, and techniques wherever you are in the country. So if you're up in the North Country, a lot of this stuff we're talking about is going to be the stuff that plays for us here in the coming weeks in the North. The jerkbait bite, for example. Right now we're seeing jerkbaits absolutely flying and being reported like crazy in the middle part of the country. Anywhere from Missouri, Tennessee, Kentucky, all those regions of the country. The pre-spawn bite is the real deal right now. And there is some spawning already happening in parts of the country down there like that. But these baits that we just highlighted, that are top sellers, that are selling because people are catching them on it in the middle part of the country, are going to be the baits you want to stock up on as soon as our ice comes off here. These compact style mag willow, Colorado style spinner baits will play up here in the North shortly. Jerk baits right as ice out comes out will play right away. Chatterbaits and chatterbait trailers like the spunktail shad here. Swim baits, my favorite time of the year, my only, to be completely honest, confidence time of the year to throw a big swim bait is that pre-spawn period, maybe a week or 2 or 3 after ice out, depending on how fast our waters warm up here in the North Country. All of this stuff I'm showing here, even the finesse style craw, like this isn't a really crazy beat and kick and tail style craw that you're seeing from X-Zone here, is a perfect like middle of the road craw that'll work in cold water right into those summer months. So all this stuff that is flying off our shelves right now down to the south part of the country is going to be the same stuff that us northern anglers are jumping on as soon as our ice comes off these lakes. Please, sooner than later. Thanks for watching this week at Omnia. We're going to be back to you next week with more fishing reports, more of the top bites going around, and more of the top selling baits that are catching them around the country. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next week.